Hello!
Welcome to Super Thundercast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Chris. And I don't know why I paused then. I was like, I'm...
Double
check a minute. Yeah, maybe I was working on an alias. That must have been it.
We're having another look at a genre just a genre in general, really.
Yeah, but with regards to how it fits in games, because we realised that it's pretty massive as a...
Yeah, pretty much everything has an element of this in it. We're looking at crime.
We're going to take a deep dive into the seedy underbelly of crime in games.
Yeah, not just loot boxes.
Yeah, they're just criminal in general, but not...
Yeah.
That's
topical.
We're not going to talk about loot boxes, because...
To be fair, I think we're about 2 weeks out from that anyway.
Yeah, exactly. We're really removed from that whole debacle because things got delayed, but whatever. We're talking about crime in games, so how it's a big part of games, how it's generally treated, and what makes a specific crime game.
Yeah, that's quite an interesting one, I think. Because, like I was saying, pretty much, if you think about it, near enough a lot of contemporary games, if it's not military, it's about doing something illegal, probably.
Do you think not all games. All games. When you think about classic games, if you think about all classic, if you go back and look, it's talking about how big a part of games are crime. Every single Mario game involves a kidnapping.
And jumping on people's heads.
And murder. All games involve murder, usually. That's a crime.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big crime. Tomb Raider, that's a crime.
Yeah, that's grave robbing. That's that's an archaic one.
You know what I mean? There's
and then you get to the more contemporary stuff like Grand Theft Auto, which is pretty much the name of the game is a crime,
but that focuses on that's not just that's kind of where we're getting to. It's like you've got different ways of looking at crime in games. You've got our crime as a narrative. Jumping on point in terms of Mario, which is kind of fun as well. Quite clever about that.
Yeah,
but you've got that sort of thing, or you've got where crime is like the driving thing of the game. So it's what the game's about. Is like committing crimes or preventing them, and normally it's committing them because.
Well, that even splits off even more because you've got games like some of the smaller puzzly indie games like Steamroll Heist and stuff like that. Like the actual meat of the game, the mechanic of the game, is how you're going to pull off this crime.
Yeah.
And it's really clever. Still crime.
Yeah, because it's you got to think, in terms of
spy versus spy.
Exactly. You look at anything that drives a narrative or a story forward is conflict and resolution. Yeah. It's like the thing you're taught, but...
Crime's a very universal thing as well, isn't it?
It's you get yourself, you normally have a clear distinction between good and bad.
Yeah.
Sometimes some games muddy it, and that works for those games, but you've got the idea of things being, people doing crimes, and people trying to stop them. And the general crux from games comes about, all the mechanics kick in when you're shit at crime.
Yeah.
So we think about it, Uncharted, there are games about being a criminal, who's really crap at being a criminal.
However, he's an excellent murderer.
He is.
He's pretty fucking good at murder.
He's efficient. The thing is, he's not just efficient. He's efficient without being prepared.
Yeah.
It's he literally one-liners people to death.
But that's
But that's why I love them.
Kind of
exactly.
Crime, where you had these films in the 80s where the body count would be absolutely massive, and it's when you think about it, this man's a serial killer. He's a genuine psychopath, a danger to be.
Commando. The film Commando, when someone pointed out, it's a Commando where he kills 300 people or something stupid, and everyone's like, yeah, but he's a family man. It's
I'll tell you who else was a family man. Kenneth Bianchi. And he killed, a lot of women. Doesn't excuse it.
Yeah. This is the thing, it's you got to think, you've got the different ways you access crimes as well. So, like you're saying, you've got Steamroll Heist, which is how you get into it. It
treats it almost like crime as a puzzle, really.
Well, a lot of games do that, because we've got on the list, LA Noire does that, but it's from the opposite perspective.
It's the opposite end of it. And it's really interesting, because games, unlike film, where you have crime film, and there is in a lot of that. I mean, even when you got into 70s cinema, where it was it was very muddy, the distinction between criminal and policemen.
It was like crime and corruption more than
it's like
crime, like cops and robber, wasn't
it? Well, think of something like Serpico that like where the entire story was like that definition between a policeman and a criminal is so small. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's very critical, obviously.
Like the line's there, but it's a very narrow line.
Yeah.
It's a thin blue one.
Yeah. You're on it today.
I am. It's not really a
that wasn't really a pun.
That was just an observation.
A good observation. But
segueing into the Observer, which is goddamn right. I'm on it today.
Well, that's like I put Observer on there in like the same thing as like crime as investigation, that being kind of like the main mechanic, if you will. But that's a game that's very devoid of mechanics. Really, it's more like a walking sim. But there's also that Virginia that we talked about earlier in the year, which is very similar, where you play an FBI agent, but it's very like the entire kind of story is focused on solving a crime, and I think as well, like crime from a genre perspective, it's universal. Like to steal something is generally considered bad. To kill someone,
very bad. It's like the worst thing you can do.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean. And games, because you can be in the position to commit those crimes and also solve those crimes. It's a very interesting idea to look at, and I think that's one of the reasons why we kind of chose this podcast, because it's such like chose this subject because it's so fucking big. I mean,
it's like the ultimate. It's like you think about games as escapism and a chance to do something and be cathartic and an outlet as well. I think it's why Grand Theft Auto is so popular, because all of a sudden you go, yeah. When I'm walking down the street, the person walking in front of me really slowly, and I think, fucking love to shoot you. You actually can. You know what I mean? Not that I've ever thought that recently.
I don't know.
I got annoyed Christmas shopping. It's like, I will gun you down if you don't get out of my way.
Yeah, it's like Grand Theft Auto, things like to a greater thing like Crackdown as well. Like that was like when they kind of give you this superpower.
They kind of framed a playground as you being in charge of policing it, didn't they?
Yeah.
Really?
And
I suppose Saints Row kind of does that as well, but the opposite way around. Like Saints Row 4 is literally Crackdown from the criminal's point of view.
Yeah. And it's very interesting, like how games kind of look at crime and what kind of perspective they take on it. Like something like Grand Theft Auto, for example, like the entire kind of thing of the game is satirical. Like it's a very satirical, wry-eyed look at it all. And crime in those games is often
a set piece.
Yeah, it's a set piece, and it's often portrayed as a bit like you can be as good as you want to be at the game, but the set pieces often kind of throw roadblocks in the way that make it seem like a lot more bumbly than it would be to be cool. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's like I was saying, like the biggest thing that throws up like gameplay challenges and stuff in a crime game is where either you trying to stop it or you committing it goes wrong.
Yeah,
and that's what throws in, because no one would ever plan a crime going, do you know what we're going to do when this crime? Big fucking car chase.
Yeah,
you'd think we want to be able to get in and out as indiscriminately as possible. It's like
it's kind of it's similar in real life though, isn't it? Where it's like the best crimes or like the perfect crimes are the ones you never hear about.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't know that they've happened. And it's like, I mean, that's why I think something like SteamWorld Heist is a really good example, because like the whole aim of that game is to get in and out without being seen and without them knowing that whatever you've taken is gone, whatever. And that's really good, and it feels...
Hitman's kind of like that.
Well, Hitman is like the perfect crime game, if you ask me, because you can assume so many roles. It's like, yeah, you've got to kill someone, and that's bad. But it approaches it like a puzzle very clinically, and it's very good at putting you in that position. Like, not that an actual Hitman would be in, but you can kind of think that, like, you know, someone whose job it is to kill people would probably consider, like, well, I've got to get out of there without being seen. So I've got to do it in the most low-key way possible. And it's just such a really good... It makes that really fun as well. Like, the worst crime games are things like...
There's one... Well, to be honest, Uncharted's probably the worst crime game.
Yeah.
Because it's doing that kind of... Like you said, like an 80s action film. It's kind of, oh yeah, we're all kind of morally bankrupt, but we're all really so likeable. And it's like, we couldn't be both.
Yeah, it's like if they were real people... well, Nathan Drake would be a psychopath, then...
Yeah, there's like, I really wish there was a bit in one of them where Sully was just like, Jesus, he's killing a lot of people.
Or like, well, Sully isn't Sully, he's actually a Somali pirate. It's like, yeah, he's pretty fucking grim. It's like
this is the thing, it's like, it kind of goes from... It's that thing where it's kind of... That's my biggest gripe with crimes in games. There's no real... Like, Uncharted 4 is probably the biggest example of it, because he literally gets everything he wants.
Yeah.
There's no... This is my biggest complaint about them. Like, I love the Uncharted series of games because they're fun and they're really cool in terms of, like, I've always said they're like the best action films you've not seen at the cinema. But at the same time, the complete lack of anything happening to him, and there's no downside to being Nathan Drake. It's literally...
It's like even the fourth one, isn't it? Where it's like he's supposed to be...
He lies to his wife, gets betrayed, nearly dies about 6 times, and then his wife's fine with it.
Well,
she literally saves his life. She comes back and she's like, I'm going to save you. And like, even Sully in that game's like, mate, you're being a bit of a dick.
I was going to say, like, if you're his wife and you know how many people he's killed and gotten away with it, you're going to just kind of, yeah, it's fine, dear. It's all right. You go do what you need to do. Yeah, just... Please don't tell me because I don't want to. I don't want to have to testify against you.
I can't wash any more blood out of a long sleeve half top or anything.
Yeah.
I can't do it, Nathan. It's just not going to work this anymore. Yeah. And it's like, it's the fact that the entire game is about Nathan Drake hiding who he really is, right? And hiding what he's really doing from his wife. And they both go, oh my God, we shouldn't do this. We should be completely open with one another. And the entire prologue is the discovery that they've then been hiding everything they've ever done from their child. And you're like, what the fuck? It's like, you literally learned nothing from your criminal enterprise. And that whole entire game was... The entire crux of that game is him going, right, a guy I work with is offering me a chance to go and do some illegal haulage. I'm going to say no because it's illegal. Really my brother, however, has appeared after several years of being missing, and I didn't think to tell my wife I had a dead brother, but he wants me to go and help find some treasure, which is more illegal, and I lied to my wife at the same time. Now to go on a killing spree. And he's like, he's a shit criminal. He's like...
But he can't be because he's out there doing it. Yeah, but not getting caught. He's killing the right people.
The reason he doesn't get caught is because there's no witnesses, because they're all fucking dead.
Number one rule, Chris.
No witnesses. Right.
If anything, he's a great criminal, but it's...
So, what's your favourite crime in a game, then? I think I know what mine is, but you go first.
I really like investigation, like, kind of stuff. Like, it took me a while to actually think about it, really, because it was... Like, I've kind of always been playing the Phoenix Wright games, I've played pretty much all of them now, other than the ones where they're mixed with Professor Layton. That's because maths isn't fun, sorry. It's... but, like, those games have, like, such a great way of dealing with crime, because it's all about being a lawyer. And not in, like, a really boring, I've got to file these documents and speak to another person's lawyer about insurance kind of thing. It's like, he's trying to solve these really fucking wacky murders, and, like, the characters are just out there bonkers kind of thing.
So have you got a favourite Phoenix Wright murder, then?
One of the cases in that is in the third one. I think it's called, like, Bridge to the Turnabout, where it's almost like 2 murders occurring at once across different sides of this bridge in this Shinto shrine, and you've got to solve both the murders at once. And the court case is mental, and it involves, like, a prosecutor who is, like, pretty much the best character being involved in them, and it's like, oh, this is so good. And it's like the kind of, there's a really interesting thing with the Phoenix Wright games, where they treat crime not only as a puzzle to be solved, but it's all about presenting evidence and kind of logicking your way through puzzles. That's what it's meant to be about. A lot of the time it's trial and error, because you just try and what if I present this item? Yeah, dialogue continues. I've done it,
Yeah.
kind of thing. But like, there's a really kind of strong moral code to them, where it's like the law is the law, and if you break the law, you go into jail, kind of thing.
Yeah, he's unflappable, isn't he? That's the thing that makes it so good.
Yeah, and it's really funny because like he's a defense attorney, so it's his job to kind of he never actually defends the murderer. He always defends someone else, and it's always someone else who is the murderer. So he's kind of like it's
like an old detective show, then, isn't it?
It's really funny because it's like these are grisly fucking crimes. Like, people die, but he's never had to deal with an actual murderer. Like, he's never had to kind of
you're the innocent
defend
victim
it.
in all
Yeah,
this.
it's like it's really sanitized and that kind of stuff. It's just a really, really well written, really funny kind of story. But this particular case where you're going backwards and forwards across the bridge, and it's almost like these two murder cases, which you know from the beginning because it's a game that they're connected, but you don't know how they're connected, and it's like a good detective novel where you kind of are putting together the argument to win the case, but you win in both cases at the same time. And then you get this really, I think, if I remember right, it's been a couple of years, you get this really good kind of catch-22 bit where a character you really, really, really like and really respect is also kind of the villain. And he's got really strong morals as well, and it's like, it kind of puts you in this quandary that a lot of games, like we were saying, crime is so big, and it's often just a kind of a device to explain the mechanics, or a device to further the narrative. It doesn't actually, other than GTA 5 really, all I can think is another one where it makes you sympathise with a murderer, like, but they're actually aware of their crimes, rather than it just being like, yeah, I killed like 30 people, what of it? You know what I mean? And it's, I think as well, because you don't actually see the murder, like, you just kind of see the aftermath and that kind of stuff. It's just really good. And if you ever, like, I often tell people when I'm talking about Phoenix Wright that you need to just play the first 3 because it's the best arc, and it really is. So, I think you get quite a lot out of them because they're really well written. It's just whether you can sit through a visual novel or something.
Yeah. No. There was a thing, the Phoenix Wright games were always something that I tried to get into and always kind of been struggled. Because, like you said, it was a visual novel, and I'm like, I never felt like I was particularly interacting with them as a game enough. Yeah. It's sort of the same reason why I could see why people really liked Professor Layton, and I could see why people loved Professor Layton. Like, the amount of people who come in and pick them up at Christmas and they instantly sell out, and it wasn't like your stereotypical gamer coming in to get them. So the Phoenix Wright games, there was a lot of people coming in buying them for parents and grandparents who had a DS, and they just like the puzzle side of it, and it was just like.
Well, it's like that Hotel Dusk as well. Like, Hotel Dusk was excellent as well. That was a great game. I never played the second one, but
it's like that kind of. I like them in the sense that they're kind of a nice, sedate approach to stuff. Like, old detectives make such great like things to hinge a hidden item game or something like Phoenix Wright around. But I always like to feel a bit more involved in the game.
You might like the Miles Edgeworth one then, where you're actually running around in it. That was really fun. They only did one of them, which is a shame because that was really good. Yeah. I think it's just a shame because Miles Edgeworth is, like, by nature, his character is a bit more, like, he's not as animated, he's very smug, and... Yeah,
he's like an antagonistic kind of character,
like
isn't he?
The dark Phoenix Wright, in a way. And that's how it's built, like, all the way through that first arc, like, in that first game, the actual arc of it is that, like, they are two sides of the same coin, essentially. Very Batman Joker-esque, but no violence in the courtroom kind of thing. And Miles Edgeworth, though he's an interesting character, he's only really interesting when he's interacting with Phoenix Wright. But in that game, it's just you and Dick Gumshoe, who is the best character.
Like, he's called Dick Gumshoe. Yeah, he's amazing.
He's amazing. He calls everyone pal as well. It's like he's just such a stereotype.
Well, we used to work with someone at Game who went to a convention dressed as Dick Gumshoe.
Yeah.
And we were like, when he told you that, you were like Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, my favourite crime in a game, I've kind of got two. One of them is slightly more recent, and it's the last little bit of Grand Theft Auto 5.
Oh, yeah.
You know, where you kind of, each character goes and ties up the loose end for someone else.
Yeah.
I really liked that as a thing, because I just thought it was quite a nice way to cap off a bunch of arcs, because I thought that was the thing that the game did really well.
Yeah.
Was it tied off the story, and they all kind of went off to their lives again. But he did it in a way that made it kind of make sense. Like, it made it so they could walk away.
Yeah.
And I just thought stuffing the guy in the back of the car and rolling it off down a hill was a really nice fitting end to that
as well.
Yeah, that's the thing.
The game is very cinematic.
It was like a great ending to a really nice kind of... I'm trying to think how to describe it. It was like a great ending that was really fitting in with the rest of the game.
Yeah.
It's kind of... It's weird because it starts off really sedate with just Michael and Francis.
Yeah.
And then Trevor comes in and it all goes a bit more bombastic. And then it kind of quietens back down again at the end, and it's got this really nice progression to it. And it was just kind of... I really enjoyed that. And I just thought the fact that they tied everything up, and the fact that you could avoid that by betraying everybody else.
Yeah.
Because they all get the option to kill the other two and walk away.
Yeah.
And I thought the fact that you could be like, no, I'm going to fuck you up. I liked that, and it kind of... It's not like it's a perfect crime, but it's a revenge crime.
Yeah.
I liked that.
It's very much in that kind of cinematic crime where it's like the stakes are really high, and like like the thing with Grand Theft Auto 5 is that it almost feels like a film, like in places, like with the story that it's telling and everything. Granted, you've got like these really bombastic bits with like Trevor and everything, and Trevor is definitely kind of like the callback to the old
GTAs.
But like I was saying, it's kind of like with the Phoenix Wright games where you've got these characters that they're not perfect, and they have their own view on crime. Like, they're not just like the player standing to do an awful crime, which is what Trevor kind of is. But they all have their own kind of motivation, and it kind of blurs that line between good person and bad person. I may be doing something really awful, but I'm not a bad person kind of thing, which is what you get from Franklin. But it's like, I mean, I think with Franklin it was quite weird because he's like, I want to get out of the hood, but I gotta go do a load of gang stuff. And it's like, yeah, I kind of see that, but at the same time, nah, they could have done other stuff. It's like,
you could have just gone and got a job.
Yeah, think of how many games have just ended it from now. I'll just go and get a job.
Yeah, so many games were just like, I shouldn't do this. It's a crime.
Yeah,
this is illegal. I'm going home.
But I think in Grand Theft Auto 5, Michael is like Trevor is my favourite written character. He's just so funny. But Michael is like my favourite character because it's like, he's the career criminal. He's like the guy who's like...
He's the one who's like pulled back into it, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's like, I want to do it because it's what I am.
And he loves crime movies as well, so he's kind of like... He has this obsession with crime films.
Yeah.
That in his head, it's never really overt within it, except for when he starts working at the film studio. But
yeah, it's
never really overt that he absolutely loves being a criminal, because in his head... He's acting out the crime films. And it's like,
in his head, he is Michael Corleone. He is, I don't know, fucking another famous criminal in a crime film, please, Chris. Go.
The Joker.
He's not the Joker.
Fucked you over there, didn't
that?
Yeah, no, he's put me on the spot, and I went,
yeah.
And then, you know what the problem was? And this is awful. In my head, I went, and then I was like, I don't want to say any of them criminals because they're all...
I don't want to say Kaiser Sose because...
I was literally like... In my head, I went, about him, no, Kevin Spacey. No, Kevin Spacey. No, Kevin Spacey. No, shit. Literally like, can all the good villain actors stop inappropriately touching people, please?
Yeah.
You make giving examples really difficult.
But that's the great thing about Grand Theft Auto 5 is that it has it's probably the first Grand Theft Auto to kind of deal with motivation differently, other than I want to do a crime because I want to do a crime.
Well, lots of games, like the Batman games, like Arkham Knight. There's a subplot with Professor Pig, which we've talked about in this before. I said he was like a freaky kind of operatic serial killer.
Yeah.
And he's on about his Dollartrons, and he's making people, like, he treats people like a toy.
Yeah.
And I think that, in terms of like the tone it sets, is a really cool crime in a game, because it's like you're going around, you hear like really faint opera music, and the sound design on it's great, and you get closer and closer, and you find the body strung up. Then you identify him, and it's Batman gradually piecing things together and narrowing his search down for him. And it's literally a collectible. It's collect these 6 crime scenes. We've triggered a boss fight. That's all it is.
Yeah.
But the way it's done and the way it's presented, and like the level of obsession that Professor Pig has, you only really see him in the boss fight, and then he's in a holding cell, and it's literally.
So it's kind of like environmental storytelling, really.
Yeah, and it's like as you're going through the beauty salon he works in, getting into the back of it, you find all these people who don't feel pain because he's done all this stuff to them. You've got to knock them out.
Yeah.
And then you have to fight him, and then it works in waves. He's just so freaky as like a murderer.
Yeah.
And it just, in that game, he was the most, like, it felt like the most Batman bit. If that makes sense. Like, it was him investigating something, and then it was him finding the criminal, it was him stopping them. There was no extenuous stuff. It was just Batman doing Batman stuff.
Yeah.
Which was kind of what I wanted from Arkham Knight. It never needed to feel as apocalyptic as it did.
But it's really strange because, like, something that should have been very much about, like, Batman is all about justice. That's pretty much the story. It's vigilante justice. Like, the Arkham games kind of felt a bit detached from that. I felt like, other than the beginning of Arkham City.
Where he's just trying to investigate the place to get pulled into it.
Yeah, like, other than that, they tend not to feel like you're dealing with criminals, but they're like super villains, like, whereas that sounds more like, like the stuff in The Witcher where, like, you go find a monster and you have to investigate the monster and learn about him. And
the best bits in the Batman animated series, or some of my favourite episodes, even when I was a kid, were the ones where it wasn't Batman dealing with the Joker or Mr. Freeze or someone with superpowers. There was a bunch of episodes where it was just Batman taking down a group of criminals.
Yeah, like a gang or something.
There's one, I'm sure it's a kidnapping ring.
Yeah.
And
sounds quite dark for a kid's
show. Well, it was. Yeah. That's the thing, but it's like, he takes down this, like, crime ring.
Yeah.
But it's just you watching Batman being Batman. And there was no.
It's like a touch of Frost, but.
Yeah,
but
but it was like, there was no.
But David Jason dressed as
Batman. It'd be fucking amazing.
It's just him and Rodney.
We've done it. But yeah, it'd be like. Just something like that, where it's kind of. I'd have loved a Batman game where it was open world, but it was. Same way as I'd love a game like this, where it was like. You're a career criminal, but you were like a thief. And it was like you had an open world and you had to case things out. You were working out people's routines and looking at stuff and you're going, how do I rob that bank?
Well, it's
to the point that you could...
Well, that's Hitman, but instead of stealing something, you're killing someone.
Yeah. I'd love something like that, because Thief tried to do it, but he always tried to wrap it up in some sort of fantasy setting.
Yeah.
And whilst that was fun...
You really love Hitman, like the newest Hitman. I mean...
I want to give it a go. I just want to know if when I buy it, can I still do the mission where you kill Gary Busey?
Well, like, the elusive targets are like back on. So it's like...
Can I kill Santa again?
I think so. I'm not sure. I know, like, the guy in the first level's back on, but, like, yeah, like, that's the entire thing of, like, it's the process of it. Like, that's kind of something that's neglected in a lot of games. Like in those other Batman games, it neglects the process of...
It was always
investigating a crime and learning about.
It was always detective vision. He's got detective vision, and I was like, no,
well, that doesn't.
Batman shouldn't be the greatest detective on the planet due to him having Siri built into his hat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you mean. But another one, Persona 5. That game is all about crime. And that's really, that's in a very, very interesting way.
That's crime for the betterment of society.
Yeah, and it's a very juvenile.
It's a Robin Hood kind of. Well, it is kind of Robin Hoody, but not. I really.
Robin Hood's actually in it. There's a persona called Robin Hood, so it's like, that's not something that's dealt with very often, especially in the way that Persona does it anyway. Where you're not necessarily hurting anyone, but it's all about stealing someone's motivation to be a criminal. And the fact that going through their palaces is you almost investigating them as a person, but as an actual space. And it's really that's such a fucking good idea. We can talk about it later on. I can't mention it now, but it's that's another way of doing crime. And it's games have that really interesting thing where, because you're interacting with it, because you're going through things, you're not necessarily just sitting there and taking information in. It's asking you to kind of do things with that information, process that information. They're in a really good position to kind of make real comment about crime and make very interesting angles to look at crime at and stuff. And Persona 5 is definitely one of the more creative ways that I've seen of it. And Grand Theft Auto is a great way of doing it as well. But
like we said, it's such a big. It's a hinging point for a lot of games because
it's absolutely huge now that we're talking about it. It's very hard to actually focus in on.
But you think it's it ties into so many different things. They did a lot of racing games, didn't they? That were trying to tie into that kind of Fast and the Furious,
Street
Criminal
racing.
Enterprise kind of thing. But it ties into multiplayer in the sense of you forming a criminal gang. Things like Payday, for example, a team shooter.
Yeah,
and it's stuff like that. It ties into everything.
Yeah, and it's just a good setting, and it's a very good excuse for you to buck the rules of society, isn't it? It's because if the game is all about shooting, there is no common place for people to do that, is there? It's not we have a battle royale or anything in society and whatever. But it's just such I think a lot of the time, sometimes it's very kind of lazily dropped in.
Yeah,
and
well, it's like that in films as well. You can have really shit criminals in films.
Not normally shit criminals, but shit excuses for crime.
Yeah, we need more Gary Oldman criminal style characters in games.
I think you're gonna get them. I mean, despite what you say about David Cage and what he does, at least he fucking tries. It's what was it? Heavy Rain. That's another type, another game that is all about trying to solve a crime, and but it's
but it's so shit.
yeah, it's really fucking bad.
I fucking hate that game.
I'm gonna say this, Chris. Right? At least didn't involve Aztec gods. Because that's what Fahrenheit was. Fahrenheit could have been amazing, but it wasn't shite because it just jumped the shark at so many points. It wanted to be the Matrix, and then it wanted to be fucking Seven, and then it wanted to be, I don't know.
He needs an editor, that man.
He needs to fucking not just an editor.
I would love to see
Hideo Kojima needs an editor.
I'd love to see Hideo Kojima do a crime game. Oh my god, it'd be insane.
He did Snatcher.
Imagine one where it was thinking about it. Metal Gear Solid's a crime game. Because it's literally... It
involves murder.
No, it's not that. Think about his objective. What's his objective? 1, he's undoing a kidnapping.
Yeah.
2, he's got to destroy Metal Gear X. Basically, they've been...
Property damage.
Exactly. Snake, 2 ends of the spectrum here. 1, reversing the kidnapping. The other, a little bit of vandalism.
A lot of murder.
Might be a bit of murdering in the middle, but we'll overlook that. Because we've made you wear a catsuit.
Yeah, well, it's funny, because when you start bringing the military aspect into it, Spec Ops: The Line is a really good example of
all the white phosphorus and war crime and stuff.
Yeah, and it's that's a really good example of it. Like this morally grey area in a situation that is usually portrayed as good people, bad people. And Metal Gear does a really good example of that anyway, because Snake himself is he's not a good person, and he says pretty much in the first one, Metal Gear Solid anyway is he's not a good man, and that's why he moved to Alaska to get away from
Everything. Because he, beating his mental health to death in a minefield.
Beating his somebody he considered his brother after death in a way. Like that would be so good. Like if Hideo Kojima just went, you know what?
Fuck Konami, I'm going to remake 1 and 2 as a new
so
thing.
Good.
It'd be amazing. Right, we've got some questions about crime.
Very good, let's go.
These all came from Rick and somebody he worked with. So the first question we've got to answer about crime and criminality in gaming is, what is the most unjust crime you've got a wanted level for in GTA or similar? So, what have you had the most extreme reaction from law enforcement in a game to? And it's either the time a police officer walked into me on GTA 5, pulled a gun, shot me twice, and then was surprised when I had a shotgun, and I got a 2-star wanted level off it, and ended up escalating this through the police crashing into other shit, including me, to the point where I had max stars. And I was just like, would you please go away? Would you please leave me alone? Or it was the time I looked at a book on Oblivion, didn't even steal the book, I just read the book. The guy in the shop and a guard rushed me, and I killed them both. And then I went outside, and the entire town went, he killed Barry. Just
Oblivion's
went
really
in on
funny
me for that. Stop right there, criminal scum. I was like, I am the victim of an assault, sir.
Oblivion's a really funny one, because I remember the first time I played it, I'd never played an Elder Scrolls game before, and it was like, I was in a shop, and I think I was doing something similar, like I was looking at a fucking apple or something, and I picked it up and I accidentally stole it, and the guy wouldn't sell me anything, so I was like, how do I fix this? Like, what do I do? So I found the apple in my inventory, and put it in his pocket, got it to him, and then gave it him back. And I walked out the shop thinking, I did a good thing. I was honest. I said, I admitted I'd done something wrong. I said, I'm sorry, sir, here's your apple. I'll, whatever. Still wouldn't sell me anything, so I thought, maybe it's some kind of relationship thing in there. Like, maybe I've done something now and I can't use that shop because I'm branded a criminal there. No. I got assaulted by God knows how many guards.
I had one on. I think this is something that they need to put into games where you've got that degree of free will.
It's fucking surprising in Oblivion as well.
When people run up to you in a game, in view of the guards, and start shit, and you sit them on your ass, guy came up to me on Skyrim and punched me. For no apparent reason, just ran up to me in a town in front of a guard and punched me. I had enchanted my gloves that I've made and my fighting pants that I've made, because I made a fist fighting guy called Fighty Barry, and he had his fight hand pants and his fight hand gloves on. And this guy ran up to me and he hit me once, and I launched him. Just power attack, hit him, and he went flying. And the guards came after me. I was like, hang on. He started. I might have finished it, but he started it.
I was going to say, my favourite thing to do in Oblivion at one point.
Why am I so indignant about it, though?
was to do that.
I could just turn you off. It was like...
My favourite thing to do was to just unequip weapons, unequip clothes, run around town, find the most innocent-looking person I could find,
jump
and just punch them, and
jump and punch and run
just
off.
Run away from them. And yeah, I think by the end of one of them times, pretty much I punched out the entirety of the Imperial City that could be punched out. It's
so good.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's so surprising.
To be fair, it says unjust crime.
I mean, that's very
you were just insulting people.
No, but that's stealing the apple, because I didn't steal it, because I gave it back. I gave it back to him. And it was his fault.
He wouldn't drop it.
Yeah, he wouldn't
drop it. He was like, I'm going to press charges. Like, mate, it was an honest mistake.
It was like, okay, send me to jail. I'll just break out this
piece. Right. So the next question. When you're playing a game that gives you an option of committing crimes for extra gold, how often do you take advantage of this option, and why? I take advantage of that option whenever it presents itself, and because they put it in the game, so I'm going to do it.
I think it's I think in terms of gold and stuff like that, generally in games, if it's a monetary thing like that, and money isn't really a problem, there's a lot of ways to earn money in a game, I generally don't do it, because if it's something like an RPG, it tends to have some kind of bullshit
alignment system. Yeah, I think I was going to say it depends if there's like a morality scale in it, and I'm trying to keep on one side of it or the other. See, that's the thing. I'm quite glad that's been sort of cast aside now.
It's like because way back when, like, look at some, like, again, Oblivion is like a really good example of it. It's like if I was serious about if I'm playing it organically and I'm not really asked about role playing in like the true sense thing, like this guy's this character, this is his alignment and stuff like that, then I may do it. In Oblivion, again, there are ways around it. There's loads of ways to make money in that game, so I very rarely would do it. So from a games design perspective, sometimes it can be very redundant to do that kind of thing. But if you're looking at, say, something like The Witcher 3, where you can act amorally and get away with it, and there are a lot of times where you've helped someone and you've got the option of just send them on their way, stealing from them, or saying, I've helped you, give me payment. And then even then saying, that's not enough, give me more payment. You know, that's a very interesting way of doing it, because that's just more like you as a person, like how you actually think. It's like generally, I like to think I'm quite a nice person, so I don't really do it. I usually just let them go on the way. I'm quite poor in The Witcher.
On The Witcher 3, I am skint.
Yeah.
Like The Witcher, the whole thing is, the core of The Witcher is, oh yeah, we kill monsters, you give us gold for it. The amount of times Geralt goes, crap,
you're alright.
You're alright. I don't need money. Like, Yakuza does it as well. Yakuza's like, you beat people up for money. It's like, right,
But Yakuza 0 has that, like, money aspect to it.
You need the money to level up.
Yeah.
It controls your experience, and there's Mr. Shakedown guy.
Yeah.
But
that's a very interesting thing as well. Like,
the thing that just jumped out at me about the Yakuza games is because I only get in fights when the fights come and look for me.
Yeah.
Unless it's one of those nouveau riche guys. And it's not because they've got loads of money, it's just because the fucking gold suit's really jarring and I want to get it off my screen. Like, I need to hit you with a bike. I don't know what it is.
The Yakuza 3, I don't know if they did it in any of the subsequent ones, but in Yakuza 3, you could start fights by going into first person mode and looking at people. Like, and if it was like one of the character models that like you would get,
it was like one of the they'd come after you. You can't do that on. Yeah, no, you can't do it on Kiwami, and I know you can't do it on 0. But I don't remember you being able to do it on 4 either. But I never played.
I was playing 5 recently, and you couldn't do it on that. But I wasn't sure whether it was the point that I was at in the story, like because I was very much meant to just go and do something rather than run around. But I found myself in Yakuza 3 doing that. Like quite a lot, like if I wanted money, because with those games it gets towards the end, and you need like energy drinks for health and stuff, because bosses are brutal in it, and you know you need the health items, so you need the money to buy the food, and so I mean that's a very interesting idea of like I engage in more assault for money in that game anyway, but. Generally, I tend to avoid it because if I'm role-playing, I like to be quite good.
Yeah, I tend to play good. Unless
it's Fable where you look absolutely badass when you're evil.
Yeah, but the problem is as well with morality things in games, especially when they're based off like your actions all the time. There's no middle ground. It's like probably the reason why it's not as prevalent in games now is that you couldn't write it properly. You're either an absolute saint, or literally, there was no, like, your options were like... The other thing was, certain games confused it. Like Mass Effect 2, I did a renegade action and got Paragon points. Because
Mass Effect had some very weird choices in it as well.
You got the option to be a renegade in a hangar scene where you were dealing with someone who'd been kidnapping children. And the Paragon action was that you were all very, I'm fine, very stoic. The Renegade action, you snapped 2 people's necks and dropped a car on someone, and it killed all the kidnappers. You got good points for that. But it's because you'd been mental. You kind of got a couple of Paragon ones and a couple of Renegade ones. But at that point, I'd been so Paragon aligned, it didn't make a difference. And you say you got to one end of that scale, you couldn't come back down.
Mass Effect was a very strange one for that kind of thing, because like there's that mission where you getting interviewed and the renegade thing
he punched the reporter right in the face.
It's like...
It's like, you shouldn't laugh. But it's like, what the fuck?
It's like, yeah, that's really fucking evil, but that's like, I'll just become Sean fucking Penn for a minute and just attack reporters. It's like...
mental.
Yeah, but generally I like to play quite good. But The Witcher 3 is like a perfect kind of example of being amoral. Like... playing how you want to play, and because there are rewards for being good as well. You know, it's not like you suddenly shut off from having that cash if you say no, it's fine, I don't want any payment. Like there are other ways that you get rewarded in it, but like stuff like but that's like really elegant game design, really.
But The Witcher does it really well in the sense that it's like there's no real judgment for it. Like some people's relationships with you change, but it doesn't change on like a societal thing. Because like most people hate witches anyway, but it's the people you've got like a close attachment to. But the other thing it does is it's kind of like it makes you feel like if you're being good and like quite righteous in what you're doing, it's like there's no real reward for it. It's just that Geralt's kind of got the moral high ground.
Yeah,
but it's in a setting where there isn't really a moral high ground to be had because everyone's a shit.
Yeah, everyone's a
shit. But if
so.
you're evil and a bit brutal, it feels like you're stooping to everybody else's level and proving their view on a Witcher right. And it's like it's got no grounding on gameplay beyond
but it's very
what
clever.
It incites in the player, and it's so clever in the way it does it. Yeah, I really like that.
That's really good, and I much prefer stuff like that than this. I'm good, I get a halo, but I'm also kind of...
The energy effect around my character is blue, the energy effect around my character is red.
Yeah. Fable was quite good when it first came out for that kind of thing, because the character when he was evil looked like...
the devil.
Yeah, it was great, but other than that, like, Mass Effect kind of shit for it. Like, Elder Scrolls like Oblivion, like that was it wasn't really elegant as such, but it was like, it wasn't really like, I'm good and I'm bad kind of thing. Got to roleplay properly. There's all that like alignment stuff as well, isn't there? From like Baldur's Gate.
Yeah. Well, that all tied into kind of like a D&D thing. That could restrict like aspects of what your characters could have. So like if you were a paladin and your alignment fell below something, or your abilities turned off because you suddenly weren't aligned to what you were anymore.
Yeah, which is a very interesting way of doing it, I think. But that like cements you into that role playing thing.
Yeah, and alignment's a way of guiding an action, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which I suppose is why they tried to do it, but it became really heavy-handed. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It was like, kill this truck full of orphans. Strongest kitten. It was like, those were your two options. It was kind of like, there was no like kind of, you should have been able to do it, not in a good and evil sort of way, but you should have almost had evil but sort of self-serving, or evil in terms of what this person wants, and good in terms of what these people want, or self-serving. It was almost like a level of selfishness to it as opposed to a moral thing. It should have been more, are you all about a short-term benefit for yourself or something that might pay off further on? And it's that choice system, I think, would have worked better.
Well, it works kind of that way in... Well, no, it doesn't really.
We've stepped away from crime now. We're talking about deeper morality in games.
We're philosophising.
We're philosophers now.
Yeah.
Jesus. That's right.
Put our wank hats on.
No. Right, we've got one more question. Which is, why has no one else played Urban Chaos on the PlayStation 1? And I covered this on Twitter when I said it is a glorious fucking mess of a game. Because it literally has a sort of... It's on a PS1. It's got a sort of open world. It's got a sort of skill point progression system. It's got driving, shooting, urban exploration, arresting people, fighting criminals, and then it's got a post-apocalyptic cult and demons. What the fuck? You know what I mean?
That sounds very PlayStation 1.
It was an absolute...
It came out for PC as well,
didn't it? It was a fucking shambles. And the game, the sequel to it, on the PS2 was like a weird cartoony kind of fighting crime sort of thing where you had like... You remember that game that was on the PS2? We had the big cartoon kind of gangbanger guy on the front with all the tattoos and bandanas and stuff.
Fire.
Yeah. That was...
State of Emergency.
There was like, yeah, there was a State of Emergency one, and there was another one that was a bit like Urban Chaos.
I don't remember. I remember State of Emergency because that was the Rockstar game where it's like you were in a riot and you had to... It was like an arcade riot game where...
They did something similar. It was like an Urban Chaos one where you were a riot cop, which was a similar sort of thing. And it was just bloody awful. But Urban Chaos on PS1 was that weird IDOS kind of... All I remember was there was bonus missions where you could play as a criminal called Mako, and you were just one of the little dudes in the gang that you fought throughout the game. But one of the missions involved you being able to climb up one of the skyscrapers in the game. It was like one of the highest points in the game. And if you jumped off it right, you could land 6 streets over on another roof perfectly fine. And that's the one thing from that game I remember, just being like, This is shit. Because I remember getting it, and it was like, it wasn't even platinum. It was like, you remember like Acclaim tried to do their own thing. It was like the yellow and black crime scene tape kind of boxes on it.
Soul Reaver one like that.
Yeah, I was like, what is this shit? That's why no one's played it. Shit. I'll say that.
I never played it. I remember seeing adverts in magazines and stuff like that, but it never appealed to me. I think throughout my PlayStation 1 days, I was a huge weeaboo, so it was like,
yeah,
it had anime characters.
I think I got it because it was like, it was like a $5 in game.
Yeah.
And I'd been good, so I was like, to get a game, and I was like, that was a $5. And it was like, that'll do then.
Never heard of it. Do you remember Apocalypse with Bruce Willis?
Yes, I do remember that game.
That's one of them PlayStation 1 games that I'm oddly nostalgic about. It's so fucking
well, I think we should do a nostalgia special.
Future Cop LAPD, that's got
crimes in it. Oh my god. G-Police, that's another one that's got crimes.
Yeah.
They were good. Driver, that wasn't.
One were quite good.
I hated Driver.
What? Driver 3. I was going to try and be clever and pronounce it.
Drive
3.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. To be fair, we can't do any better of a
review than the Consylvania Boys did.
Yeah.
Right. So, we've talked about crime. The other part of this episode, as it is December, and we are approaching the end of the year, is to discuss our game of said year.
Game of the year.
Which should be pretty. You should be pretty quick. I mean, I've got a quandary because I'm like, you remember last year when it came to Titanfall, and we kind of like, my heart's telling me this, my head's telling me this. Which one do I pick? I'm in that boat again, and I don't like it.
I'm really not, and I'm a bit kind of dismayed by it because I should be, but I'm not.
Yeah, because you. Oh, do you want to go first? Because I know what you're gonna say yours is.
My game of the year is Breath of the Wild.
Yes.
Like, without a shadow of a doubt. It's the only game that I've bought twice this year. I'll put it that way, I bought it twice this year. Paid full price for both of them. And loved it both times. Like,
yeah, because you've got it on the Wii U and on the Switch, haven't you?
You're damn right.
Right. Just before we start Game of the Year.
Okay.
Nintendo should be Man of the Year this year, because holy shit, the Switch has been great.
It's really fucking good. And to be fair, that's half the reason why Breath of the Wild is my game of the year, because if I only had it on the Wii U, yeah, it'd be up there. But the fact that I can play this game that is just
astounding.
Amazing.
It'd be astounding on anything you put it on, though.
It's the fact that I can take it to work with me.
Yeah.
And still have the same experience. Like, not even a watered down experience, the same experience of playing it on my TV. That's game changing. That's like, I don't have to compromise anymore. I don't have to go, oh, it's
only a handheld and temper your expectations.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, no, it's a fully fledged fucking game now. And not that handheld games weren't, but you know what I mean?
It was like, yeah, there was more. It feels like there's less of a limitation on what's possible gaming wise now. Like, Mario Odyssey does it as well. Like, you sit there playing it on a little, like, 3-inch screen or whatever it is, and you're like, these people are sorcerers.
Yeah.
You think 3-4 years ago, absolutely fuck all would have looked like that on a handheld.
Yeah, I mean,
Even on the Vita.
Yeah, but, I mean, they could barely get Persona 4 looking like Persona 4. I mean, it looks probably just as good, but it's still not the same as Persona 4. You know, and that was with Persona 4 Gold, which came out like a good 2 years after. But like Zelda, it's like, it's not just that. It's like the game itself has changed so much from what Zelda became. Like, a lot of people dislike Skyward Sword. I kind of think Skyward Sword is underappreciated, but I can totally understand why people dislike it.
Is it because... See, I never played Skyward Sword. So was Skyward Sword so frowned upon because it was...
It was very hand-holdy.
Stuck too close to the existing Zelda formula and didn't really change anything.
There was that, but it was also the fact of, like, there was very little to explore. It was almost like you were given levels, in a way, which is kind of antithetical to what Zelda is.
Yeah.
But this, it's like, you're given...
This is the opposite.
Yeah, it's the complete opposite. You can really get into the plot if you want and go and find all the memories and really get to, like, dig in deep with that kind of stuff. Or you can completely ignore it and just enjoy running around this massive playground and have a go at, like, all the different weapons, or, you know, engage in some side quests, which, granted, they're not great, but they're better than what were there before, you know?
Yeah, and it's like they feel organic to the world you're in as well.
They really do.
Nothing feels out of place. I mean, we've talked about Breath of the Wild before, and we've said it's by no means perfect as a game, because it gives you Hyrule, but yes, there's stuff going on, but the world doesn't necessarily feel lived in.
Empty.
Yeah, and it's a very lonely game. But
yeah, but I think that's the atmosphere that they're trying to go for. And it's like, it's very much kind of a hark back to the original Legend of Zelda, where you woke up in a cave and just go save Princess Zelda. That's the only information you're given. And you can play the game like that. You don't have to give a crap about the story. You don't have to listen. Well, I mean, you kind of have to listen to all the dialogue because, there's unskippable cutscenes and stuff, which is whatever, but it's the
all
purest kind of Zelda game that there has been for a very, very long time.
And
yeah,
I'm excited because it came out so early on in the life cycle of the console. I'd like to think that they're going to do another one on the Switch, and I would love to see how they build on the formula they've set up, because the scope to create a much more, like, they've got the world there, they know they can do that, but how do you populate that more? How do you do it so it's not so much... Because the thing that they did differently was it's not preventing Ganon rising.
Yeah.
It was, he's done that, how do you undo it?
Yeah.
I'd love to see another Zelda that was more how you'd expect, if that makes sense. Like, you've got like a big open Hyrule, like everything, like Hyrule's been restored, and set it 150, 200 years later after they've died, reincarnated or whatever, and you've got the direct descendants of Link and Zelda, like, whose parents remember the ones from, like, Breath of the Wild as the guides, like, going, this is what we're trying to stop. And you're trying to keep this sort of, like, more realised version of Hyrule going.
Yeah.
And there's more to interact with, and it's like, there's more towns, and it feels more like it's redeveloping.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that world populated.
I'd like to see them try and do something like that. But what I like, that lonely atmosphere of Breath of the Wild, I love the fact that when you do come across a town, it feels like a little oasis of activity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's something about...
They feel like little huddled corners of people where all the shit that's going on hasn't quite reached them yet.
Yeah, it's like, I got that same feeling that I got from Breath of the Wild that I did from when you find a new town in an early, like in a PlayStation 1 JRPG, where it's like, yeah, this is a new town, it's a new biome, it's a new kind of area to explore, new quests, that kind of stuff. It just felt like there was stuff to explore even there. And they really gamified like the exploration of it as well, which is something that you don't see in a lot of open world games. You're given these huge open worlds in games now, and you don't need to see
explore
half of
them.
it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that was so good about Breath of the Wild, because we're probably going to get onto this in a minute, but objectively, it is the game of the year.
Oh, yeah.
It's what I've said anyway. That Breath of the Wild is far and away, if you're looking at the quality of the game, it's the game of the year.
Yeah.
But it's not what I wanted to be game of the year.
No. Same here, really.
I mean, I absolutely adore it. And like we said, when you look at things like Titanfall and Overwatch last year, we go, they are objectively the game of the year. But if it was just up to me, it would be something else.
Yeah.
Because, like I said on a couple of podcasts back, I had to go through Breath of the Wild twice before it clicked. Like, the first time I was playing it, I was going, this is amazing. But it was only when I watched my fiance play it, and then I went back through all of it, I was like, this is actually astounding.
Yeah.
Because I was playing Yakuza 0. And that, if I had my way, would be my... I think, to be honest, it probably should be my game of the year.
Yeah, you've really evangelised about that game.
I love that game.
Yeah.
If you haven't played Yakuza 0, do yourself a favour and go pick it up at the minute, because it's like 20 quid.
Yeah, it's like 20 quid. I think even like physical copies,
the physical copy is about 20 quid. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be one of the 12 deals of Christmas on the PSN. So get it, play as Goro Majima, go do karaoke, and watch a man in an eye patch with a ponytail who's capable of hyperviolence singing a love song on roller skates. Thank me later. Because, you know what I mean, it's like... I think it was like, the entire time I was playing that game, I was grinning like an idiot.
Yeah.
The entire time I was playing Breath of the Wild, I was grinning like an idiot. But it was just kind of like, the game that had the more... I think the toss-up between the two of them was how I felt at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And there was an audible, oh shit, fighting Ganon that you didn't get. Like, have you seen the last boss of Breath of the Wild?
Yeah.
You have. That bit when the Divine Beasts do what you didn't know the Divine Beasts were going to do.
Yeah.
Was one of those, like, very rare, like, moments in games where you, like, get him, kick his ass, and then you go wading in with the Master Sword.
Yeah,
and if you've got
badass.
the guy shit, and it just, every bit about it mechanically just makes it feel like, even though Ganon's there, it's like, this is a Link that's more prepared.
Yeah.
It's a Link that is about to cave this fucker in. And it's like, there's a lot more kind of... And the music's swelling and everything. It was just, it's perfect.
Oh, yeah.
As the end to a game. It is... The game itself, not perfect. That bit, in terms of evoking everything it needs to, everything was absolutely spot on. Which is why it became my game of the year. But it was like, that thing was kind of like, my head's telling me Zelda, heart's telling me Yakuza 0.
Yeah.
That's my... Because I know you wanted it to be Persona.
I really desperately wanted it to be Persona 5 because I've been looking forward to that game since 2014, and the Persona games for me have always been, well, since Persona 3, I can't say always. I was in my 20s when I played like the first one.
Were we?
Yeah, we were like, were we 19?
What, 19?
18, 19.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like they've always kind of been this little gem, that I've been very precious about. And it's like this not being as good as I wanted it to be, which, in fact, that might not even be the case. It
probably
might be...
never have been as good as we wanted it to be.
I don't think it's that. I think it's that, like, my habits as a video game player have changed massively. The way I look at games, the way I kind of think about them has also changed since I was 18, 19.
The way you play games has probably changed drastically over the last 3 years.
So I'm wanting them to go back to... I'm wanting them to be that and more. And it's like, I can't... It couldn't have been. It could never have been that good. That good for me. And yeah, it's like, it's still a great JRPG. It's still... I would still recommend anyone go and play it. But I'm just not as enthusiastic about it. And playing it, I get to these points where I'm like, I don't give a solitary fuck about any of the other social links, other than, like, I think I liked Anne's arc really well. Like, Futaba's I've not even started, but she's a really good character. Ryuji's a prick.
Everything he touches turns to ash. I hate him.
Yusuke's a great character. It's like those, like in Persona 4. I've played that game twice all the way through, and I've done all the social links, not in one sitting, but in all of those games. And I've wanted to explore everything that I possibly can in that. I've not had anywhere near that kind of enthusiasm for 5, and I can't say it's the game's fault. It's my fault. I don't have 200 hours now to spend on a video game.
You've got to think, it's like, when you were saying it then, it made me run slightly cold, because I just sat there and went, if Persona 3, or Persona 4, or Akami, or any of our golden cows, any of the games that we've got on these
pedestals.
Yeah, any of the games that we've put on a pedestal because we were working part-time, we were at uni doing a course that meant we had days of free time.
Yeah.
We could go to the pub, then go play games, go buy games whenever we wanted, and we could just immerse ourselves in it as a hobby like we did.
Yeah.
And we got to a point where we could be quite, I mean, we've proven it with this, we can be quite, we sound like we know what we're on about, and it's like we get quite, no,
debatable.
We do. In comparison to some people, we fucking do. Sorry. But it's like, you get on this, like, thing where you kind of put these games on a pedestal, and now I sit there and go, would I look at it the same?
Good? Yeah.
What, it's like, which games do I still, like, of all my games that I put on these pedestals, what would I still enjoy if I went into it and played it now? Would I still put it on that same pedestal?
Yeah.
And you probably find the ones that you do are going to be the ones that aren't 40 or 50 hours long, aren't super involved in terms of like shitloads of story going on, and they're going to be things you can play more conveniently.
Yeah,
I mean, so it's going to be like things like, it's why Mario's always going to be so popular, and I mean, it's why I reckon I could still go into Medieval and be like, yes.
I mean, it's one game. They have aged terribly.
Yeah, but it looks fucking hideous.
Yeah.
But if that was to come out now, looking nicer, but it played exactly the same, or it was the same length and had the same styling and tone and everything to it, you could drop in and do a level if you wanted.
Yeah,
you could still do something like that, but I think the only game that's come out that's kind of like the sort of stuff we'd have invested shitloads of time in, Fallout 4, hated.
Yeah,
probably because I couldn't immerse myself in it.
Yeah.
Skyrim, hated, because it was the poor-faced shit version of Oblivion, which is a game we threw hundreds of hours at. And it's like, the only game where a big, open, time-intensive game that I've played and I've been like, holy crap, I'm in on this, was The Witcher. And I think that was because of how much I loved The Witcher 1 and The Witcher 2, and how good this actually was. And it's a testament to how good a game it is. That, yes, the way I've played games has changed.
Yeah.
Yes, the way we interact with them has changed. I have forced myself to play it the way I used to, because I was like, I want to play this to a way.
That's what I mean. It's like, as we're talking now, I've still not finished Persona 5. I think I'm close to the end.
I think you are as well. But this is the thing.
But
you asked me how close to the end of it you were, based on where you were, and I realised I can't fucking remember half of what happens.
Exactly.
Persona 4, I remember loads of.
I can remember most story beats in that game.
Persona 5, I was just like, considering how much I looked forward to that game, and considering how much I thought I enjoyed it when I played it, there's been no impetus to go back. And every time I think of it, it's just one resounding thing is just this,
yeah,
it was alright.
Exactly.
It's like, it's not like it was the game changer we were hoping
but
it'd be.
I don't think it's anything to do with the game, because the game itself is very good. It's just, I don't like my average playtime on Golden, not even Golden, on Persona 4 when it first came out, was putting about 20 odd hours a week into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. You were hammering that game.
We absolutely wrecked it. Any time I was home, I was playing Persona 4. I can't do that now. And I feel this huge disconnect from Persona 5, and it's not worrying. It's just a bit sad because it's like
it's a
if
shift
it came
in
out,
the way you play games.
Yeah, if it came out probably 3 years earlier, maybe it would have been my game of the year that year, but it's not. And it's one of the reasons why Breath of the Wild I've enjoyed Breath of the Wild so much, is because it slots into my life. With it being on the Switch, I can pick it up before I go to bed.
I see what you did there. Yeah. That was good.
I actually made like the hand movement as well.
We need a pun gun noise.
But like I don't have to crowbar it in. I don't have to sit there and go, you know what, I won't. I will sacrifice investing time into drawing or something like that.
Well, you got to think, it's like
play a video game.
It's really horrible having to think about a hobby, which is what playing games is, that's been such a defining part of your personality growing up, and and it's not just that, it's like it defines a lot of the friendships and relationships and stuff you have.
Exactly.
And you look at it, you go, the way I interact with this has completely changed.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about before, we don't look at a massive controversy in gaming as the world-ending thing people make out it is. Like we were saying before, like loot boxes. The way people were reacting to Battlefront 2, you'd have thought that loot boxes deliberately went out and caused cancer. Like, they were literally like, they are evil. They're the worst. If you don't like them, if they're bad, it was like, we sort of sat there going, if you don't like it, don't fucking interact with it.
Yeah.
Just don't buy the game. Eventually, if enough people do that, they won't put them in the game.
Yeah.
Done.
I mean, but then again as well, the internet is...
cesspool.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was looking at V last night about, these, like, Xenoblade 2, and I just had so much disdain for it, for anyone commenting, because it was just people trying to be snarky and trying to be funny and trying to be this and that. It's like, no, it's a fucking video game, mate.
Yeah, armchair games designers.
Yeah, could you make it? No, go fuck yourself. You know what I mean? I mean, that's a very dismissive way to look at it, but it's like, not that I don't care, because I do, because I've got opinions about fucking loot boxes.
They're not positive.
Yeah, exactly. I've got opinions about game design practices and all that kind of thing, but at the end of the day, it's now a small part
of a larger
thing. It's like, I don't want to say I've got better priorities or anything like that.
Because your priorities have completely changed.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. It's like, you've got to keep in mind, it's like, you think about 4 or 5 years ago, we were literally, no, probably further back than that, it's like 7 or 8 years ago, we could throw shitloads of time into playing games because we were either...
And we did.
We were either at uni, literally, we were either at uni, at work, in the pub, or all at someone's house playing games.
Yeah.
Now, we're either at work, at home fucking knackered because we've been at work, or you're looking after a kid, or you're doing that. There's all these other things that sort of, you have, like you said, you have to fit games. If it's your hobby and it's one of those things you do,
you make time for it.
You have to fit them around, and it's a nice hobby to have. But we're getting to a point now where I think our expectations of games have to almost be tempered by the amount of time we can dedicate to it. So I mean, I absolutely love big JRPGs, and the JRPG I've been looking forward to for the longest time comes out next year. And we were sat there going, right, it's a numbered Dragon Quest, and it's coming out on the PS4, and it's coming out on the Switch, and it's like, I've got to make a decision which one I get, and it's probably going to have to be the Switch one, just so I can put the time into it. Yeah. But at the same time, there's a little voice at the back of my head that's just going, fucking buy both, you weeb. And I'm like, it's like, I probably will, because I'm an idiot, but it's that thing where I kind of sat there going, I want to be able to dedicate the time to it, but I don't know if I can. And that kind of, I don't want to say it worries me, because it's like, the stuff that replaces the time I can put towards games is
going to be good.
It's worth it, and it's great, but it's like, it's almost like putting your hobby on a pedestal next to all those games, if you know what I mean. It's like, we're completely off topic here, but it's
it's
kind
a good
of.
topic to have.
But it's like.
It's one that is neglected to talk about by a lot of people because a lot of people are in that kind of
Bubble.
Yeah, that bubble of they're able to put all that time in, or they feel it's worth putting all that time into it. I think that's it. They feel it's worth putting all that time into games. When
I'd love to feel like it was worth putting the time into them, but
mate, if I am not right now, if I'm at home, and I'm not drawing, I get worried. I genuinely feel worried that I'm not doing something with my time. So it's amazing that I've been able to put 70 hours into Persona. And I think I've put more than enough time into it to be able to have an opinion on it. And you know what I mean? It's just like...
It's that thing where you kind of like... I think that's... To be honest, there's that sort of... We're making it sound like a negative. But when you think about it, if... there is a game that makes you play like we said in Witcher, if there is a game that makes you play games like you used to, you know that there is something about that game that is a little bit special.
As bad as it is, the last one that made me do that was Final Fantasy 15. And I'm going to say it now, I want to go back to Final Fantasy 15 and do all the stories and do all the extra story stuff. Maybe look at the DLC. Resident Evil 7 is another one. That's another contender for Game of the Year, by the way, Resident Evil 7.
Because you went back and finished it, didn't you?
Very good game.
You went back and had a go at that, whereas I'm too much of a chicken shit.
Well,
I'm not. We discussed it last time. I am not a horror boy.
Yeah, but those are examples of games where I didn't feel like, I didn't feel like I was wasting my time as much. Whereas Persona 5, I can be sat there for like 2 hours, be doing a palace and be
feel like you've got nowhere.
Yeah, feel like I've got nowhere, or feel like even out of the palaces where you should be, where that used to be like one of the most enjoyable parts of it, doing the social links, doing like
the dungeons in Persona games were almost ancillary to everything else.
Yeah,
you used to hammer the dungeon and the boss on Persona 4. It was a case of you would get
that's 3 days.
3 days in. You're in the thing, then it kicks you out, and you go back in, you do that entire night to get to where the boss is.
Yeah.
Rest up. Maybe rest another day so you're well rested. Go in, beat the shit out of the boss, and then spend the next 3 weeks of in-game time grinding social links.
Yeah, because they were the fun part of the game. And it's like, now, it's almost the opposite way around, but the dungeons are so fucking long, it's like...
boring.
Some of them are, some of them aren't.
Well, if they were meant to be, they were all supposed to be set out like heists.
Yeah,
and they don't feel like heists.
Some of them do, though. Like, the one I'm on at the minute does.
Yeah, some of the later ones, but it's like, a lot of them, it just feels like a big, long, procedurally generated corridor with weird sort of pseudo-stealth mechanics in. Maybe a fetch quest to go get a key.
Yeah. I mean, I think, again, it probably sounds overly negative. It's a very good game. It's just...
It's when you step back and look at it after a couple of months away from it, you kind of go,
yeah,
it was alright. I enjoyed it. It was alright.
But yeah, it's like...
It's no Go on Majima on roller skates. It's no Yakuza Kiwami, and that's a remake of a
PS2 game.
Yeah. It's a remake of a 15-year-old game.
It's still a good game.
It's a fucking great game.
But it's like, with moving house, I've not had my PlayStation 4 being a bit shagged at the moment. I've been playing Yakuza 5 again, and it's a great game. Like, that was getting me back to the point where I was like, right, I can put an hour here, I can put an hour there into it. Whereas Persona 5, it's like...
Feels like effort putting time aside to play it.
I'll put an hour in now, and I'll maybe come back to it day after tomorrow or something when I've got a bit of time. When Becky's working, I'll
jump on it a bit when Ellie's in bed, sort of thing. But it's like I should be enthusiastic about it, and I'm not. You're not.
And look, round in the circle off. That's why it's not my game of the year, because I'm just not enthusiastic about it as I want to be, and I probably could have been given it a couple of years ago.
It's really weird, isn't it? Because all of a sudden, I now feel really, really, really fucking old.
Happy New Year!
Thank you.
It's not even Christmas.
I've been 30 a week. It's like you've destroyed me.
No, it shouldn't do, because it's like, to have a balanced life, it's like you've got to have more things going on. And it would be fucking weird, Chris, if you were in your 30s and the only thing that you did was play video games.
That is true.
You know,
that'd be really
that's
true.
the sad thing. If that would be the sad thing.
But the weird thing is, it's like the last month I've probably not played as many games. I've jumped on the new Assassin's Creed, which, by the way, considering how negative about it we have been, it's very good. It was so good, in fact, that in my head I'd shortlisted it as a contender for Game of the Year, but then it was like, the thing is, it's a shortlist on a list that's got Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild on it.
Yeah.
It was only ever going to potentially come 5th or 6th.
Yeah, I mean, and that's very high.
Because, I mean, think about this year, though, when you think about the games that have come out. This year's been astounding.
It's been excellent. A particularly good year, and I don't think next year's going to live up to it.
I think next year's got a couple of... got a couple of high points that... And there's stuff that's been announced that could be really good, but it could also be really shit, or a bit of a letdown, like Anthem. Could be amazing, probably not going to be. Dragon Quest will be good, but it's whether it's good enough to make you play it in one go, or if it's a thing that you're going to buy, and you're not going to need to buy anything else for the rest of the year.
Yeah, which is kind of what I've done with Persona.
I'm hoping the Switch keeps up its momentum.
I'm sure it will. I mean, Octopath Traveler's next year.
Yeah.
Which, again, if that's good, then great, but... there's meant to be a Phoenix Wright coming.
There's Yakuza's out next year.
But that's the thing as well. Like, there's been so many good games this year, and I've spent so much time
on Persona. You've ignored
I've got
some
like
stuff.
a full year of games to go through.
There's a remake of Akami out next week.
Yeah, well, it's just the PS3 version, but they're putting it on PS4.
It still means I've got Akami on the PS4.
It's still great, but I've got Yakuza 0 to play. I've got Kiwami to play. I've got Horizon Zero Dawn to play.
I think you'll like Horizon.
I mean, the little bit of Horizon I played, I loved it. I've still got Nier to play, and Nier is like...
Nier's multiple playthroughs to see everything as well, isn't it?
Nier is like... Persona's this big dinner, and I'm getting to that point now where I'm starting to feel full, but Nier is the pudding that like I'm keeping room for. It's like...
Do you know what you want to do then? I mean, you know what you should do? Just fucking shelve Persona.
I don't want to because...
You're determined to get through it.
I'm determined to get through it and to be able to say, I've finished it, because I've finished the others, and it's up there with games like Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest for me. I feel that strongly about Persona as a series, but it's like, it's just, do I have 100 hours?
Yeah.
I do if I've got a full year. But
you've got 100 hours if you've got a console you can take and play at work for a bit, or you can sit in bed for an hour before you go to sleep and play on it, but to actually put that like time dedication in and stuff, it's just
a lot. Yeah. So that's it, I think, for me anyway.
Yeah. So, is there anything games-wise next year that you are looking forward to other than the prerequisite Dragon Quest and Yakuza?
Nier.
I'm looking forward to playing the rest of 2017's games.
There's Yakuza, there's Nier, there's but they're already out, and there's Yakuza 6 in February, which looks
stunning. I can't wait for that.
March.
I thought it was March because
like March 20th.
I think February, if I remember rightly, the only thing in Feb that I'm kind of remotely sort of maybe interested in is the remake of Secret of Mana on the PS4. Yeah. But at the same time, I want to know if the collection of the Mana games is coming out on the Switch over here first.
Yeah.
Because if I could get them all on the Switch, I'd get them on that instead of the PlayStation.
Yeah, and they're great games as well. I mean, other than that, there's not a whole lot. It's all just like I said before, Octopath Traveler I'm really looking forward to. Like, I want something that feels that classic. I mean, part of me is thinking for Christmas, like after Christmas, getting either Assassin's Creed, because it does look really good. I mean, that's going to be a fucking first for a long time, buying an Ubisoft game. But either Assassin's Creed or getting a RetroPie and getting a load of old stuff and just plugging it in.
Well, you can get a load of old stuff and play it with boy. Well, you can show him some stuff.
That's half of it. I mean, he really loved Mario Odyssey from Well, and that's another game I put quite a bit of time into, considering I don't have time to play games. Mario Odyssey,
But that's one of those ones that you can... Thing is, as well, you've got to bear in mind that you've got a small human being running around the house.
Oh, yeah, it's like...
You can't chuck loads of hours into games that are overly violent or sweary or whatever while he's there. But something like Mario, which is essentially a fucking playable cartoon...
Yeah,
you can play that to the cow boy. You can watch that.
And he loves that. He asks. He says, "Daddy, I want to play the game. The man in the hat." It's like I'm talking about Mario, so using it. It's like
this house. It's Mario.
Yeah, and I'm not even a Mario guy. Like,
but that says a lot about. You got to think if you were to list the games this year, it's literally Breath of the Wild's at the top, then. Again, if you're being objective, it would be Mario probably second in terms of... To me, it would be, because it is a particularly special game, but...
Yeah, it is very...
It's not got that same kind of, holy shit thing that you get when you start playing Zelda.
No.
Like, when you first walk out onto that plateau and you can see everything, you go, Christ, I can go there.
I got goosebumps the first time I played it. I was like, shit.
See, that's the thing. It's... Nintendo are very good at making games that kind of sneak up on you like that. Like, you kind of go, you bastards are making me feel things. Yeah. And it's like...
Yeah.
You don't necessarily expect that.
No.
Other games that could have been a game of the year contender if they come out this year, though, and it's been talked about a lot on Twitter by different people that we follow, the Warframe.
Oh, yeah.
Warframe would have been good.
What I played of Warframe, I liked.
What I've played of Warframe,
I've loved more than I have.
I've put many hours.
Considering it's
Warframe.
like 5-year-old now.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah,
it's like playing it. You're a bit like, why the fuck am I playing this? Like there's bits of it because I played most of it on my own. I'm just sat there going, why am I playing this? Like you're looking at it going, what am I doing? But then you kind of sit there and you do something or string some stuff together. You go, that's why I'm playing this.
Yeah,
it's what Destiny wished it was. It's what Destiny should have probably been.
Yeah, and I just really like the look of it as well, like the designs of the warframes and the enemies and stuff. It's really fucking good, like top tier kind of design work going on there. But it's like,
well, maybe that's when next, next genre one we do science fiction.
That's a big one as well.
But yeah, right, science fiction.
Because that bleeds into like
couple of caveats. No Star Wars.
Yeah.
We cut Star Wars out of the equation. We cut Mass Effect out of the equation. Because if I start talking about how much Mass Effect annoys me, we'll be there all day. And we focus on.
Well, if we're talking about like
the stuff within, we pick like 2 or 3 sci-fi games that we really like to talk about them.
Yeah, we can do that.
We'll do that. And we'll get people to, if anyone's listening to this,
talk about their favourite sci-fi games.
Tell us what your favourite science fiction games are.
Yeah.
Or your favourite things about sci-fi in games.
Yeah.
Because...
And you can mention Star Wars and Mass Effect. We're not placing that burden on you. That's up to you.
Points it for... I'm more inclined to read out stuff from fans of Destroy All Humans, though.
Yeah, good shout, actually.
First game that I ever heard was swearing in it. It was weird. Right, anyway.
Yeah.
Right, so we've been talking for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I think I might even be able to put this all as one episode.
Probably will be able to.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is probably the most consistent year we've done this.
Considering it's last month.
Well, shit happens.
Yeah, to be fair, I was moving out and I still don't have the fucking internet, so...
Yeah, so it's like, we're looking... I think monthly works, and I think what we're doing works, and we'll keep going.
Yeah, so, yeah. Follow us on Twitter at Super Thundercast.
Without the E in Super.
Yeah.
And I'm on Twitter as L, which is EL, _Wervo. And Al's the Alabaster Mage.
At Alabaster
Mage.
Yeah.
Follow us and tweet us questions and stuff, and we'll probably do our best to answer them on Twitter.
I mean, I like answering them on the show, but we don't get enough really.
We'll answer them on Twitter as well, because we'll probably say something different on there.
Yeah.
We're fickle like
we usually do.
We'll probably be like, yeah, we'll say this, but then we'll probably think about it a bit more and discuss it differently on the show.
Yeah, we didn't mention Detective Pikachu either. Rick's not going to be very happy.
No, we've just mentioned it then.
There you go.
Yeah, that is that out next year?
I think so.
I'm looking forward to Detective Pikachu. Calling it now Detective Pikachu 2018 Game of the Year. But only if he's voiced by Danny DeVito.
Frank Reynolds.
He's only if he's voiced by Danny DeVito, or who's the other one I said could have voiced him? Brian Blessed.
Iago from Aladdin.
Oh my god, if he was voiced by Gilbert Gottfried.
Yeah. That
would be so good. That would actually be brilliant.
Yeah, it would be amazing.
Congratulations. Nice job, Ash. Pikachu. As proof of your victory, a Thunder Badge.
Thank you.
Holy fuck, is this wrong? But holy hell, is it erotic?
Gilbert Gottfried needs to voice more characters in games.
He should.
Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And we will see you in January.
Yep, see you in January. See you on the other side.
Happy New Year.
Bye.
Bye.